Welcome learners. In the last session, we got to understand what are animations. In this session, we're going to discuss about error scenarios. Let's imagine a scenario wherein you're using your mobile while you're cycling. Well, that's actually not practicable, but I want to give you a hypothetical scenario wherein a person is in a moving direction. What can happen is you can move into a low network area or have absolutely zero network. In that case, your mobile app that was trying to fetch the data from the server is going to stumble upon an error. How to show that error? In fact, how we can create a common component to show all the errors we're going to discuss in details. So stay tuned in this session.
Let's dive into the session wherein I'm going to show to you how you will be having your product listing to be done. So let's imagine you have over here your card and this is the image for your product. Next, what I'm going to show to you is over here it will be the product title. Now I'm going to put, let's say, a star symbol here, or let's say one small container that is somewhere over here, let's say in red color, to mark 20% off, followed by on the left side I'll put the count for the product. On the right side I'll put price for the product. And over here I'm going to put the star rating. So let's say this product is having a 4-star rating. Yeah, so that's exactly the design that we're going to follow into our product listing. Now going by the design, since this custom loader widget will now be helpful for displaying loading, I'll remove this part for the scaffold and in fact remove this filled widget as well and replace with something called as a future builder. Now a future builder would try to complete the future function. For example, when it comes to our case, we have this API repository, that is this product repository, and I'll put it over here, product repository, and then using this object I'm going to call hit server for getting products. Next is going to be the builder function, which over here will try to load the list of products that is my product model. I'll put this as snapshot. So now, like you have seen it before, when the connection state is waiting, that's basically when my entire app is kind of waiting for this response to be received from the server. Then I'll see return custom loader widget. Now, once the waiting is over, I could be having two scenarios. If my snapshot has error, else over here I am going to load the list of products. Now, what I'm going to look for is how, in the same way, I can also have my error screen to get designed. Now, because we have already done one animation in terms of displaying my loading, over here, let's say we have this display error widget, which will kind of show me my error, and I'll put over here a return as scaffold, and I'll see that the background color is going to be black, and in the body at the center of the screen I'm going to put one large icons dot error, and let me just take this exclamation symbol, put the size to be a bit bigger, and put the color to be yellow. Now I would also want an error message to show up. So this error message I'll take in as a constructor variable, and then display it on my text widget. So I'll put over here one text, and I'll say that's the error message, and for styling purpose I'll put this with a color as white, and I'll also put a bit bigger font size. Now let's try and see how this error will happen, or how this error will actually get displayed onto the UI. So for this to happen, let me now remove this and keep a container. Well, that's an empty container which I'm trying to put. Over here I'll put display error widget, and over here I'll try to take the snapshot dot error dot toString to get displayed as an error. Now how exactly would this error would be getting displayed, and for that matter how this snapshot dot error will first happen? In order to do so, I'm going to again change this over to products 1 to 3, and also what I'll try and do is over here I have this future.error, so let me now try to run the app from the very beginning. Well, this is the last time the product has load, and here we have the status code to be 404, and my screen just turns blank. That's because over here I have a hard-coded setup for the status code to be 200. Next, what I'm going to try and do is switch this over here and write my else condition, wherein I'll see return future dot error failed to fetch products from server. And let's see if now, if we don't get a status code 200 into our response, then whether this error gets displayed onto the UI or not. I'm going to run my app, and yes, it says failed to fetch products from the server. Well, exactly how did this thing work? Let me show it to you from the very beginning. This is a product listing screen. What it does, it waits until this future starts to showing up the results. Now what did I do is deliberately added 1, 2, 3 at the end of the product. That's because if the URL is incorrect, then we're going to go and see this error. And in fact, if I just now try to see this entire error, or in fact this error widget, it kind of shows up like this. What I can try and do is first move the elements to the center and increase this to, let's say, 100. Yeah, that's the error message. Now let me try increasing the spacing, and in fact I can just make this as 200 in order to show an error with a big size. And yes, that's basically my error, saying that all products have been failed to fetch from the server. Now let's say we try to correct the URL, and then over here I'll try to see in the text, of course I'll put received products from server. In this case I should be actually seeing this text. That's because I have my URL to be correct, and in fact I also have put the correct status code on every product listing. Let's try seeing if this part works or not. So heading over to my app, yeah, and it says receive products from server. Well, what I'm going to next to do is over here I'm going to have my list of product model, that is I shall be receiving from my snapshot.data. But what would be a scenario wherein over here the data is null, or perhaps let's say this list of products which we are trying to show to you is empty. So in this case what I'm going to try and do is keep a null check that my product list is not equal to null and my product list is not empty. If this happens, then I'm going to load my entire widget, else I'll still show my error widget, and this time I'll see empty products, or in fact I should see no products were found on the server. For now, we are not going to encounter this scenario. That's because our server is going to surely give us the products. This check is just to keep an avoidance. Let's say if at all you are trying to create something on your end, and let's say you land into an error where the server fails to respond giving the products. In that case, you'll be getting this particular message onto the my bad. You'll be getting this particular message onto the output. The next task which I have in hand is to make my container to switch to a list view, and in fact it's going to be a list view.builder. Now, if you're heading over straight away in this video and you skipped module 3, I recommend you to watch that entire module. That's because over there I have covered the list view in and out. Now, what I'm going to try and do is pick my current product out of the product list, and this time let me just try to first complete the build context int index and also the item count. Well, now what do I know? This is the total number of items that are going to be there in my products, for now 20, and for each product what I'm going to try and do is load the image that will be there according to the product. So here is my image. Yeah, so what I'll try and do is run my code and see if at all I can see the product images on my app. Well, that's exactly the products, and I'm happy to see that they are all getting listed one below the another in the form of a list. What I'll now do is cut this video here and concentrate on the designing for the list item widget in the next session.
Hopefully the entire demonstration for displaying errors and in fact a bit customization was helpful. In the next session, we're going to stick to the diagram that we had created for our product list item. We had added a bunch of stars for our product rating, images for displaying our products, and in fact also put a 20% off label on product. How to go about the entire design and creating that perfect design onto draw.io from draw.io into our code. That's exactly what we're going to head towards into our next class. So stay tuned and keep learning with open minds.